Right now, I'm here by myself. Hopefully, Jeff will join a little later, and I don't know if anybody else is going to. So, what I thought I would do is hopefully address a few things I wanted to make some comments on last night. But first of all, one of the things last night was and you can see down here at the bottom here, I was a wimp. So we have picks every week on the Charlotte Reserver. And first week, I picked against Kings Mountain. I didn't want to in here, even let people know, but I kind of was wimpy and I picked against them. I don't know why I let my colleagues influence me on that. And darn it, if it didn't happen again last week. So, it's being a wimp. I figured I can always unwimp by eating some good hot pepper. So, yeah, I was a wimp. Didn't go with what I thought I should go with. I went with what I thought was logical. It was kind of going against where I wanted to go. So that was the first thing I was going to hit on. Not much, just this week they're going to play. Those two teams I picked against, Burns and Kings Mountain. And hopefully when Jeff comes on a little later, we can talk a little bit more about that. We're going to go over their rankings. He and Alan have put together rankings. And so we'll kind of take a look at those because I noticed on the Carolina Varsity Facebook page, they got quite a bit of flack about how they pick things. Okay, next thing I wanted to talk about that was kind of covered last night was a hazing incident that happened at Mechanicsville High School up in Virginia. And they shut down the football program investigating it. And wouldn't you know, from what I was seeing in the news today, there were a number of other locations that this issue has come up. And there was a little bit of discussion last night about what were the thoughts on it. And there were even comments about like right to passage, but don't make it too physical, etc. If it gets physical and bullying, it's not a good thing. Well, my thoughts are the only kind of rites to passage that there should be is, okay, you got to go run a 5-miler, or you've got to go, since it's football, you got to go do 100 or 10 100-yard dashes or something like that. To do anything mentally or even minorly physically, one human to another, that's always going to lead to something bad, because humans just are going to carry things to the next level. And you don't know what the situations may be between the individual that would be the target of the hazing and some of the others that would be delivering the hazing. There may be something there that triggers something. Nothing like that's needed. Absolutely, it's not needed. It's not needed at any level, especially high school. I think it's sick and should be addressed. If any such incidences occur, they should be addressed. Coaches know about it. Get rid of the coaches. There should be no second thoughts on anything like this. It's not needed. So that's my thoughts. I don't know what others may think. I'm going to look here and see if we got any comments being made, but we don't need that kind of stuff, especially not in high school. So I was a wimp. There was that. Another topic that came up was streaming, and is streaming hurting high school? And I wanted to make a comment about this because I was one of the first to stream in North Carolina. In fact, I think I was the first. I don't think my ear things are working at all, and there's nobody here. As far as I know, I was the first that was streaming games. And then a little bit later in the season, a couple of other people started streaming. And we're talking, oh gosh, 5-6 years ago when I was doing that. I stopped because that next season, the NCHSAA came out and said you can't stream because we had streamed at some of the playoff games. And they said you can't stream at playoff games. And then at the end of that season, they put into effect you have to pay rights to stream. And it was $100 a game. You had to get sign off by the school and pay $100 fee. So I just stopped doing it. I was doing most of my stuff via Periscope. Rather popular. What do I think about streaming and the streaming that we see now? I pay for the NHFS football thing, and unfortunately, I'm not utilizing it this season. Probably need to cancel it. That money should be going to the schools parts of it, since I'm watching a game that I paid them to let me access, and they're accessing it via the school. I hope that they're paying the schools for that. I don't know. I would like to find out. I guess I probably should find out. I don't necessarily think that streaming is a bad thing. I think that it does give people opportunity to see games that they would not otherwise get to see. I don't think it's really going to keep the true fans from going, especially family and friends of players, etc. The people who typically go to Friday night football games, they're going to keep on going because watching the game via a stream is not the same as being there. And I think we all know that. So streaming, I think, is good. It exposes it to some people who can't get to the game. But if somebody's going to make money off of it, some of that money needs to go back to the school. That's my thought on streaming. I am going to talk a little bit later. When Jeff comes on, we're going to talk about his picks. If you give me just 1 second, I see there are a few people on right now. I'd love to have you make some comments, people. I'll see if that was Jeff that just messaged me. He's trying to click to the link. So he says he's trying to come on. I do want to talk about his rankings, as you may have seen them in the Facebook Carolina Varsity page. What else have we got here? I got that I'm going to talk about. There was one more thing that came up last night, and let me bring that one on. Oops, wrong one. I'm sorry. What value is there of North Carolina teams playing out of state? Now, this is something that I've had many discussions over the years with various people about. It used to be rather difficult, especially for Charlotte teams to be able to travel to play far away. And if games are televised, et cetera, there's just so many rules that prohibited those opportunities. So there's been a lot of discussion about it. My thoughts were always there's some opportunities here, not just for the game itself, but for the students involved. If they can, let's take as an example the game this past weekend that probably spurred this comment because Mallard Creek did not fare very well at all against Buford down in Georgia. If they go down Thursday and spend Friday, maybe go to the high school, learn a little bit about the culture down there and the people down there, and then play the game and then come back, I think there's some extra value that can be gained. So there's potential value there. Coaches typically do this to pump their resumes. So I hate to say it, but in many cases, it's a personal thing first with some of the coaches. I'm not saying in all situations, but it's a personal thing to be able to play those games and win them. It gives them more recognition. But it does also help with the program that they're building and maybe the school that they're building to give them a little more recognition. And recognition is not a bad thing. So there is some value in that. There's value in the kids getting the exposure that comes from it. So not just actual exposure to play in a big time environment like at Buford. And you don't know anybody that's watching. That's like one of the best programs in the nation, and year in and year out in one of the best football states in the nation for high school. They are one of the best programs year in and year out. I had to hear from a friend of mine a lot about it because his daughters all went to high school there, and he became a fan of the high school. And even though they're out, he still follows them. I noticed on Facebook, he's still following, I guess, the state championship teams. But that's a great team to go play. You go down and you play a game like that and you get beat as badly as Mallard Creek got beat. Is there a loss of value in that? No, because you still get an opportunity as a team to see where you're at, and maybe that makes you better for the remainder of the season. Now, losses can also have negative impacts, but getting beat that badly by Buford, say, versus getting beaten by Huff or Chambers or one of the teams in North Carolina is not as bad. Not as bad as far as mentally is concerned. I don't think it's going to impact them that hugely negatively that they went down to Georgia and played one of the top teams in the nation and got their heinies handed to them. No, I don't think so. I think there's potential there to gain from that. So they may be a better team as a result. It does kind of question or lay some question as to how good of a team they may be, getting beaten that badly. But then I think maybe football in North Carolina might be a little bit down this year, at least in that classification, the 4A classification. I haven't seen Jeff come on yet, and I'm going to see if we got any. Nobody's making any comments. I think I've covered what I wanted to speak to from last night that I really didn't get to talk about. I'm going to share with you a moment and share Jeff and Alan's rankings. And you can see it down here in the bottom right-hand corner. And this is Cleveland, Gaston County, their rankings, and they have Burns #1 and Kings Mountain #2, and those two schools play each other this Friday night. And when it comes to games that are being played in the area, in the state, this is one of the bigger games. One of the points last night was, is this a bigger game than another big game, Crest and Shelby, that are going to be playing each other, two big rivals? There's 4 schools out of Cleveland games. And my thoughts, if anybody out there saw this, saw these comments made last night, but my thought is that the game and the bigness of a game is relative to the individual that is thinking about it, and that's just the way it is. So for the Shelby Crest fans, that game is as big as the game between Kings Mountain and Burns, and vice versa. The game, as far as Kings Mountain and Burns is concerned, hell, it's bigger than the Shelby Crest game. So it's relative to who is thinking about or going to see the game. Now, somebody like myself, as I have to look at those two games, I can acknowledge that Shelby Crest is a big game, but the bigger game in my book, in my mind, is the Burns Kings Mountain game. And that is a big game. Now, there's some importance in the Crest Shelby game, because somebody needs to win here. And there's some importance here in the Burns Kings Mountain game. Somebody's going to get a loss and have their first loss. So when it comes to wins and losses and how things might set your trajectory for the remainder of the season, they both have some huge importance. But when you look at the games from the outside in, you cannot help but say that the Burns at Kings Mountain game is a bigger game. And if I were not attending the Providence Day at Charlotte Catholic, another really big game, this would be the game I would go to. The Burns at Kings Mountain, great environment. I love that place. I'm a little bit of a fan of Kings Mountain as well. So I think a great game. Jeff is trying to get on, he says, so he may have some comments to make about this. But from what we see here, of course, they have Burns ranked over Kings Mountain, which tends to make me believe they're picking Burns and Kings Mountain. We can see South Point up there at #3, and I wish I could get Mr. Anthony Perkins on. Hopefully, if any of you people out of the 1A, 2A, and 3A realm that have been paying attention to Alan and Jeff, Anthony covers South Point. He goes to every South Point game, and he puts an article up each week on CarolinaVarsity.com on the website. He's not a big Facebooker. We've tried to get him on to Facebook. Anthony's done some videos with me in the past, primarily when it comes time for playoffs. But maybe I can get Anthony on, because who knows South Point better than Anthony, and who knows he knows Gaston County probably as well as Jeff does. He knows the Gaston, Cleveland, and the foothills area very well. So we see that they got them sitting there at 3, and then of course Crest and Shelby, they're playing this week. How they come up with their rankings and where who they put. I see y'all arguing about it, especially those top slots. Jeff, excuse me. Jeff will pick Forest View whenever he can, but he's a realist and understanding when Forest View doesn't have something, he's not going to pick them. And I think maybe the same thing might be true with Allen up in his area. I'm going to go back and see if anybody has made any comments. Nobody's made any comments. For me, I'm going to the Providence Day versus Charlotte Catholic game this Friday night. I went to see Providence Day and Weddington play this past Friday night. I saw some stuff out of Weddington I've never really seen in all the years of watching Weddington, and that is a team that really took to the air more. Not to say Weddington doesn't throw and hasn't thrown, but they seem to throw a little bit more in this particular game. And they were a little bit successful. Their run game was good, but Providence Day they are a beast. Talking about Providence Day last night, I know that a lot of people thinking they're posers, they're, fake. Thing about Providence Day is that program is building to be kind of a national type program. Whether they're going to be an IMG, I mean, they really could be, because people will come in and more people will come in. They got a ton of D1 prospects on their roster right now, and just expect to see that blossom each year now, as long as Chad Greer's there. Providence Day has wanted to do this for a while. The goal when they hired Bruce Harden was to do exactly that, elevate the program to a next level and try to play more eventually national type, or at least regional type schedule, regional being Southeast regional. Where's this going to go? I'm sorry, I got something here on my throat. Where is this going to go for them? I don't know. As long as Chad's there, I really believe that we could eventually see them playing teams from the other side of the country. So Friday night, they got a big test. They have to go up against that big red machine, Charlotte Catholic, who is they're a different team this year, and different in that they're not just a blasted wing tee, get a lot of yards on the ground team, and maybe hit you with that tight end over the middle every once in a while, maybe 8-10 times a game. They run a spread offense now. So I got a Division I quarterback. He's committed to play here at the UNCC. It's kind of odd to see them throwing the ball, but when you've got a big Notre Dame committed tight end, you're gonna try to get the ball to that guy as often as you can. You have to back up here. Coaches will always talk about a player that you need to feed, be it basketball or football. You got to get the ball into the hands so that he can put some points on the board for you. Well, Catholic's got some of that. Providence Day is loaded with that. So it's going to be an interesting ball game to see. Catholic has a tenacious defense. They might be slightly looking to see if Jeff has joined yet. It might be weaker in the secondary than say they are up front in the front seven, and one might think that will lead to Providence Day being able to take advantage of that with the number 2 quarterback in the nation, supposedly. Those rankings. So number 2 quarterback in the junior class, number 2 rated recruit in the class. And there's been a lot of debate about that, whether he's a number 2 recruit or not. Doesn't really matter. The kid's very good, very, very good. And he's got offers from Alabama to Michigan and lots of schools in between. I don't know about out west, how far out west they're recruiting him, but I can expect that by the end of this football season, maybe rolling into the spring, I bet the kid's got 50 offers. I bet he's got somewhere in that 30 to 50, unless he does a hard commit and tells everybody to leave him alone. He's probably going to be up there in that 30 to 50 offer. You know, a lot of times people just offer to offer because they feel like they got to get their name out there, even though the kid's not going to, or they feel like they may not have a shot at him, but you never know. So anyway, I think it's going to be a great ball game. That's where I'm going to be at. Unless something big changes, I'll be over at Charlotte Catholic to watch that ball game. Kind of would like to go over to Kings Mountain. I don't want to cut this too short, but I might have to cut it short if nobody's got any comments. And Jeff, it is not letting me on. Okay. So I haven't seen Jeff try to get in. So I'm going to tell him just to get on and type some comments. Maybe he can do that. Big Kings Mountain. I think I've picked Kings Mountain. So that's my pick for Friday night. I think it's going to be a close ball game within one score, let's say. Maybe 35-28. I think there's going to be some points put on the board. Watch it be a little lower, a little higher, but that's my pick. And I see a 35-28. Is that your pick as well? I think that's a good. I think that's a good thought for a pick. I just can't see this game being a bigger spread. There's Jeff. So Jeff couldn't get on visually, but he is chatting here. So Jeff, one of the things that I did is I brought up that your rankings that you and Alan put up, and talking briefly about the Kings Mountain and Burns game. You may not know, earlier when I started out this online, I ate a hot pepper. I was a wimp because first week 1, I Kings Mountain. Not that I wanted to. I felt like logically I had to. Something told me that, and the same thing happened last week with Burns. I wanted to pick Burns, and I don't know, something just said logically Burns didn't go win the game. But I actually argued after making the pick with the Talking Preps crew about why Burns would win. So it was kind of a messed up situation for me. I really did wimp out on the last 2 weeks on my picks. It's my 2 misses. So I'm 10-2, and my 2 losses are 2 wimped. So I didn't wimp this week. This was as hard a game to pick, and I thought both of those games were hard games to pick anyway. It's not like I didn't think. Well, actually, it's kind of a shocker because I felt like the games would be close. Both of those games would be close, and that I felt like Kings Mountain would win and Burns would win, but logically maybe not. And it turned out logic was completely wrong. And actually, all logic was wrong. It wasn't as close as I thought they would be. So I hope that's not the case this Friday night. I'm thinking the game's going to be close, Jeff. I'm picking Kings Mountain. I'm expecting Jeff is picking Burns. Is that right, Jeff? You want to type up and tell me why you're picking Burns? Why would you pick against the Mountaineers? I see here Shannon's saying Kings Mountain defense front is tough. Well, that's one thing you got to have. Now, Burns has got some size and some speed. So you're going to have to be tough. You're going to have to be tough across that offensive line. You're going to have to be tough. And there's another person picking Kings Mountain. Now, if you guys are Kings Mountain fans, I'd expect you to. But if you tell me you're Crest or Shelby fans, that's another story. I wouldn't mind hearing from some of those kind of people to tell us what they think about this game. They got a decent perspective on it, don't they? A Maiden Blue Devil. Okay. Well, I think Kings Mountain is I'm going to bring some of you guys stuff up here. So there's a pick right there. Here's a pick right here for people to see. And, of course, he says he's a Blue Devil, Maiden Blue Devils. So I think it's going to be a really good ball game. If people don't have a dog in a fight and they want to go see a good football game and they're over in the Cleveland County area, that's a good ball game to go to. That might be the best ball game in the Gaston, Cleveland County area. No offense, as I mentioned earlier, to Shelby Crest, which I know that's a big game, but this week is more of a game for them than it is, say, for the county and et cetera, being a big game. The big game is over in Kings Mountain this week. So you guys want to go see a good ball game, there you go. When you can rotate 9, you're keeping everyone fresh. So, that's an important thing, is having an ability to rotate players in and out, keeping legs fresh and minds right, and also having bodies in case somebody gets hurt. In a physical game like this game is going to be, I think you need that. Jeff has not given us any input at all. I think Jeff's afraid. They caught a little bit of grief for their rankings. I noticed some of you people didn't like how they had things ranked. So maybe Jeff's too afraid to speak up and say that he's picking Burns. Put me in. How do I put you in? I tried. Oh, here we go. Thank you, Jeff. I didn't see that. You there? All right. I'm going to switch my audio to the computer. And okay, so Jeff has been added in. I don't see him online. I wonder if it's his Jeff didn't like getting called out like that. Now, manhandle up front, I don't know. Okay. So, Jeff, I can see you, but I don't hear you. So you're halfway there. So to manhandle would, to me, indicate that they would win big. Jeff, you might need to make certain that your audio source is set to your phone mic. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I see your head, man. That's I would love to get Jeff in here. So I'm not sure what you're saying, Jeff. Jeff, can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. All right. If anybody can hear Jeff, type in the chat that you hear him. Just want to make certain it's not me that can't hear him. All right, so I don't know what the nope is. Okay, so Jeff, they can't hear you, man. It's got to be your audio source needs to be set. Are you using an app or are you using the web browser on your phone? Thumbs up if it's web browser. Thumbs down if it's an app. Thumbs up, it's a web browser. Okay. Because I don't know if Restream has an app, but you normally have to do it through the web browser. There should be a gear icon. And then once you go in on there, you should see audio. And then a source, and maybe it's going to say your phone mic or your mic or something. Make sure you have that set. The mute. Yeah, that's another thing. You might be mute. Are you muted, Jeff? See if there's a mute on and you're muted. I don't have you muted. He's frozen too. Well, okay. So Jeff, what we're going to do is you and I are going to get together kind of separate and we're going to work this out. Guess Burns be muted Friday night also. Yep, Jeff, Burns is getting muted just like you. Yep. Did you hear that, Jeff? They said that Burns is getting muted. So Jeff just, I guess he gave up. Yeah, that's another thing, Jeff. If you're listening still, sometimes exiting and coming back in can fix those things. It definitely does on the app that I use. I really wanted Jeff to contribute on this Kings Mountain Burns because Jeff does know Cleveland County very well, and he knows these two teams very well. So I'd like to get his insight into why he thinks Burns is a better team. I'm sure that he would probably tell us it's not by much. That whole defense is a full, fast, aggressive, and physical. Yep. But again, I think you're going to find the similar things with Burns, at least from what I've seen. Okay, now let's see. No, Jeff, we can't hear you, buddy. Um, the reason I use this instead of just doing it straight from Facebook, Jeff, is because this is streaming on Facebook. It's streaming on YouTube. I could also you could also maybe come in through YouTube. You're still set up on YouTube as an admin. So I don't know if you want to try that, but it's streaming out on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook, and I think it might even be streaming on my own personal Facebook as well. So the Carolina Varsity Facebook and my Facebook. So the only thing I didn't do is put it on my personal YouTube. And most of you people don't see me. You see Jeff and you see Alan. And Jeff's frozen right now. So Jeff, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I'm gonna take you out and bring you back on. He was in the car, or he is in the car. Looked like his reception was not too good either. His audio or his video wasn't very clear, so he may not have been in a good signal area as well. So sorry, Jeff. We'll work it out. I'll get you going right. This particular streaming service isn't the best for mobile devices. It's really designed to be used with a web browser and running off of a PC. So, and quite honestly, if anybody else out there is ever interested in coming on and maybe sharing some of your own thoughts, you're more than welcome. So Jeff's on YouTube now. But I guess he can't come in that way because I didn't host it directly off of YouTube, Jeff. Jeff, we're gonna have to work this out this weekend. Yeah, Crest is young, yeah. Now, Forest View, I don't know as much about. Jeff does, but I don't. I just thought that Crest and Shelby might be a little further ahead than where they appear to be right now. And I may be wrong. They may be further ahead, and it's just that these other guys are just way ahead. I thought Cameron might join tonight as well. So Jeff's going to Forest View Friday night. Now, why would you go to Forest View when you have Kings Mountain and Burns playing? I just can't imagine there being. I don't know, Jeff. I think that's the game. If I were you, that's the game I would go to. If I were you, since I'm me, I'm going to the Providence Day Catholic game. But I might change my mind and go to the Kings Mountain game, but probably not. I want to see Catholic. I am one that Jeff don't want no smoke. So Jeff doesn't want to be in that Kings Mountain Stadium and let anyone that may have seen him pick Burns over Kings Mountain. Is that what I'm hearing? I can see that. Although Jeff's not a wimp. Jeff, if Kings Mountain beats Burns, you're going to have to eat a hot pepper. I've only eaten 4 or 5 today. cayenne peppers. They're not too bad. I'll give you one out of my garden. I had to put some smoke, a little bit of smoke maybe coming out your ears. That's the game you should go to, Jeff. Who is Forest View playing? Ashbrook? I don't know why you would pick Forest View. They playing Thomas Jefferson. You looking for a win? You want to be there when they win? I don't know. So we had Maiden mentioned here. What's Maiden's prospects look like? How are things looking there? Thought Allen might. We invited Allen, but Allen was tied up, couldn't make it. Jeff does not run from anybody, but I did plan on doing this unless the Big Red Sports people releases me from the commitment. Why? Well, that's your deal, but I don't think you should let that dictate what you do. The way you should do these things is you should always go where you want to go, unless somebody's paying you. Because that's what I've always told you. Go where you want to go. Go see the game you want to see. Maybe we can talk about that later. But that's what you should be doing, is going to the games that you want to go to. It's what I do. I go where I want to go. And anyone that's ever worked with me, that's what I've always told them. Go where you want to go. Go see who you want to see. Doesn't matter if it's a horrible game or a great game. Go to the game you want to go to. That's what everybody should do. That's what part of what high school should be about. High school athletics is to go do, to take part in that community of things, and for you to feel like you're a part of that community, be it going to the Kings Mountain Burns game, just being a part of a great ball game. You have no dog in that fight, but you still have an interest in seeing a highly competitive football game. For me, that's typically what I look for in games. Since my sons don't play anymore, I don't have any family that I need to go watch play somewhere. I try to find games that are going to be of some kind of interest to me, either pique my interest because of it being a highly competitive game, or there's some kind of historical significance to a game, a rivalry significance, an atmosphere significance. Any of those kinds of things can drive me, because I want to have that feeling that you get from the energy that exists in those environments. I'll pick a few times this year that I'll go watch our new high school here in Charlotte, Palisades, who is the high school that my grandchildren are assigned to, but it'll be a long time before they ever go there. And where I live now is assigned to. I've watched them once so far this season, and I'll probably go watch them again. I'm not expecting, though I may pick a game that they'll win. They've only got 2 games. They've got 2 more games this season. They got shots at winning, and those are not great shots. isn't there? So they'll not be good games. They'll be low quality games. Listen, put Kings Mountain #1 so you can make these people happy. We Burns could care less. And that's the way it is. Rankings are so the thing about rankings, and the beautiful thing about, and I didn't have any part in Maury. I didn't have any part in this particular ranking. That's Jeff and Alan. Not saying they've done anything wrong. I'm just saying that I didn't rank because, quite honestly, it's a they know more about the areas. But the great thing about the rankings, especially the rankings that they do, because they keep it kind of isolated to some county areas, is that in the end, they will get decided head to head. So Kings Mountain is going to play each other Friday night. So here they are, ranked 1 and 2, however it may be, and they're going to play this Friday night. And at least for this week, it'll decide who is better than the other. It could end up being that it's a 1-score game, and it's one of those games that, well, if they play again, it might go the other way. But at least the bragging rights are earned on the field. You don't earn bragging rights on paper. You earn it on the field. And that's my firm belief in things. And I was, when I jumped on the Facebook page and saw all this activity, I was like, wow, okay. Well, the good thing is they're playing. It'll be decided, come 10 o'clock, 10:30, somewhere along about that time, we're going to know who beat who. And it goes into some weird 4 or 6 overtime game or something where there's rain that delays things. We're going to know who's the on the field winner. And that's what matters, is on the field. And to me, I would like to, if I could be 2 places, that would be the other place I'd be. That part, see you soon. Yep. So hopefully everybody gets a great game. Everybody gets a friendly environment afterwards, prior and afterwards, and a highly competitive environment during. So here he says, I've started doing highlights more than writing since I can't access the main page. Okay, I'll have to, Jeff, we'll have to look at that. I noticed that Anthony has put up some articles, and I don't know if you're talking about on the website or on the Facebook page, but I'm trying to do some things with the website. I need some help. I would love to find some young kids that would like to contribute. And so the viewers that are out there happen to be watching this right now. If you know anybody that would like to contribute to high school sports, be it writing, video, you got some technical capabilities and you might like to help run the website. The website's kind of neglected. I'm looking for that kind of assistance, and I have always been willing to give young people, or give anybody an opportunity, but especially young people, high school kids that maybe somebody that can't play but would love to take part in athletics, and would like to interview players or write articles or do video things. We'll give you a platform. We just need to hear from you. So if you want to contact me, that's how I got to know Jeff. When I fired up Carolina Varsity, Jeff was we were both on North Carolina high school football, a website that was back in the early 2000s. And so Jeff was, gosh, that was when Jeff was in high school or just leaving high school. And Jeff's been with me ever since. So, would love to have some more people. Alan is one of Jeff's friends. That's how Alan got into this. I've noticed some people who have posted comments and contacted them, and that's how Carrie got involved in her pictures. We see all of her pictures, and we get a little bit more Lincoln County view from her. I love to give anybody that wants to share an opportunity to do that, especially young people. So if you people would keep that in mind and just share that with people, just mention it to people, mention it to someone who might mention it to someone. Would love to give some people some more opportunity and get some more voices out there, because we see a Burns and some Kings Mountain people here and some Maiden people here talking about Kings Mountain. That's cool. I like to see that kind of interaction, and maybe have more of that, and see more representation from other areas. We used to have a huge Charlotte, and that has kind of died down because this old man's been kind of not been as active as he should be. But I plan on changing that. Okay, Jeff, is there anything you want to say before we head out of here about Burns and why you're picking Burns? You were 22. So, Jeff, tell me why you're picking Burns. Help educate me. Why? Where am I missing it in picking Kings Mountain to win this game? Now, granted, I'm thinking this game's going to be a one-score game. So that means one score. And usually when I say one score, that means 7. It could be 3, but it means one score. It's going to be a one-score difference in the ball game. That's what I think. And I give that favor to Kings Mountain primarily because of being at home. And I know home is usually only a 3-point advantage, but I'll hold it at once. Two teams are close to each other, very, very close. So you got to tell me why on neutral field. No, you don't have to, but I'd like for you to tell me why on a neutral field in a neutral environment, Burns is a better team, and by how much are they a better team, Jeff? I'm hoping he might in here, or anybody else. I don't mind hearing biased comments. I can take 2 biased comments, and I know you will. I guess that's Jeff. I don't know. It says I will pick Burns. It's either probably Jeff or Alan. So if somebody tells me they're going to pick Burns, I'd like to know why. From a technical point of view, not a they're my team point of view, if you can help it. Because both of you should think that your team is better because you're both very good teams and you're both very close to each other. So that little bit of bias can certainly weigh into you thinking, well, they're going to win, and then throw out some other reasons. But I'd like to hear where the matchups are. I'll be paying attention to the game Friday night. It's hard for me to pay attention to games and video, and I tweet out videos of the games that I'm at, plays. I try to capture plays and tweet them out. So it's kind of hard for me to follow. And so usually when I sit down on the bench at halftime is when I scroll back through and look, and maybe if there's any delays in the game, I check on scores. If people are tagging me at Dale Ross, you people at the game Friday night, they tag me every time you see, or at Carolina Varsity, tag me when something happens. That a way I can at least look at my notifications and I see what's going on with people who are tagging me. This is a game that I'm highly interested in. It's my number one interest game that I'll not be attending. Impressed with their offense. Why? And why is their offense better than Kings Mountain's defense? And why is Kings Mountain's offense not better than Burns's defense? There's multiple sides to these stories. One can be very impressed with an offense. Does that mean you're under impressed with Kings Mountain's offense? What's the matchup that makes Burns's offense click against Kings Mountain? Those are the kinds of things I like to see. Is it a wide receiver cornerback matchup, wide receiver DBs across the board matchup? Is it a defensive line versus offensive line matchup? And when you're talking about the offense, is there a running back that's going to be able to take advantage of that? So many little factors that might play out in one game, but don't play out in another matchup. That's a great thing about football, is that every opponent is different. And how you attack an opponent is different. And how you may have been successful attacking one opponent, and you try to do that same thing against another, becomes a disaster. And I'm not saying that's the case here. I don't know why I would not pick Kings Mountain is all I'm saying. And my gut's been right 3 weeks or 2 weeks. I just didn't logically pick correctly week 1 and week 2. I let stupid logic get in my way. And the hard thing about this time in the season is, especially week 1 and week 2 and week 3, by the time you get to week 4, so what do they have to work on, though? Mentioning turnovers, what caused the turnovers? Why were there turnovers? Those are, there's factors around everything. So I don't know. Does anyone think it's going to be more than a 1-score game? Does anyone think that one of the teams is going to win by 2 scores or more? And 3 scores is 21 points is a blowout in my book. So if you beat a team by 21 points or more, you've blown them out. That's the way that I view it. Because 3 scores is hard to overcome in a quarter. Now, we've seen it happen, but it's a rare occurrence. So it's just one of the ways I kind of identify things when I mention blowouts or whatever. But forced into coverage. Well, I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at them and see. I'm sure I can get that video and look and see if they were forced or not. I just the bigger thing is you do. So you said those things, but just say one thing. Is it going to be more than one score? Hey, Jim. So is it going to be more than one score is what I want to know. So does Burns win by more than one? Or is it going to be a 7-point or less ball game? Which is what I think. And I think the +7 is to Kings Mountain. If Burns wins by 7, I'm not going to feel like I blew it. If Burns wins by 21, I'm going to feel like I blew it. So 28-21, and my pick is 35-28 is what I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, is Kings Mountain 35, Burns 28. So see, Kings Mountain on a fluke play. So there's that one score. I think Jim's saying the same thing. And the thing about close ball games, and we saw that if anybody watched the Dutch Fork Huff game, and Dutch Fork's got things to work on. It's early in the season, new team. Tommy will have his team right. And of course, they won the ball game, but they were kind of like just kind of slowly moving along. And then they did a nice little double pass. I hate to use that word double pass because it's not a double pass, a lateral pass, a lateral then a pass. And it's not a fluke play. It's a bit of a trick play. But that set the difference in that ball game, or it turned the difference in that ball game. It gave Dutch Fork that momentum that they needed to be able to move forward. Dutch Fork in December would beat Dutch Fork's August team by 17 points easily. Yeah, I think so. Maybe even 21. Dutch Fork will get better every week. But anybody that watched that ball game, and if you didn't see it, you should get video and watch number 53, the center for Dutch Fork. Jim, that kid, I know you watched the ball game. That's got to be so far the best football I've seen this year. The best football player. He's a short kid, 5'8" maybe. So his metrics are not going to make him, a top Division I recruit, but certainly from a pure play point, he dominated the Huff nose guard. He dominated that kid every play. And that kid, number 90 for Huff, he was 6'3", 6'4". Probably, I should look him up on the roster and see, but he dominated him. It does. Did I miss the what? What I said was earlier. I covered that early, Langston. Probably the first 15 minutes of this, no longer than the first 15 minutes, probably the first 10 minutes, something like that. So there's two parts of being a football player, three parts. There's actually three parts. There's obviously the athletic part, the physical body part. There's the mental part. And then there's, which really kind of the heart part is part of the mental part, maybe. So really it's two. I don't know how you marry those two in. On the rankings, my guys that cover Cleveland and Lincoln counties, etc., they put up a rankings this week. They put up rankings every week, and they put up rankings with Burns #1 and Kings Mountain #2. And on the Facebook page, they caught a lot of grief about it. So that's what we were discussing there is, or what I was talking about there is to kind of go over those rankings and let them respond. Unfortunately, Jeff couldn't get on and Alan was tied up. So Jeff got on here typing his responses, but he couldn't get on video wise, so he could actually back up his weak claims of Burns over Kings Mountain. Dell put together an all-class top 10. Really, I think that there should be one. It's high school. Doesn't matter if they're privates or publics. They're still high schools. So there's no reason there can't be one that's just everybody. And then you've got your privates and you've got your publics. Rankings are highly subjective, Jim. That's many people simply take away too much. They do. It's just like one of the people said here in the chat a little earlier about the rankings. And the thing that when I saw Jeff and Alan's rankings and I saw all those comments, I was like, oh, well, you know what's good is Burns and Kings Mountain play Friday night. So they'll settle it on the field. So it's really good when things like that can be settled on the field. Rankings only mean something if you respect the person that's doing the rankings. That's the other thing. That's the other subjective part. It's not just subjective on the ranker, but it's also subjective on the person that consumes the ranking. You cannot feel good about a ranking unless you have, I guess anybody can feel good that somebody says your team is the best team there is, even though they could be the worst team. But if somebody says that, you may feel good about it. But to really feel validated about how your team piles up in a ranking, you've got to respect the person that's doing the ranking. And if you don't, or the medium that's doing the ranking. This is why I liked more than anything just pure statistical ranking. So the stuff like we were doing in the Carolina Varsity Football Report, I just more than anything, I want to bring that back. There's been nothing better. The only thing that comes close was Massey's rankings when Massey was doing all of the rankings for all the high schools. And, It's a shame that that happened with the Carolina Varsity Football Report. And I wish I could find some math capable students to put that thing back together, and just do it. Just have a ranking that's just purely based off of results of games and nothing else. Then you just sit back and you can take those and apply them along with some subjective rankings and let them balance each other out and come up with a more relative ranking. And I love that word relative, because relative is all about who, again, the point of reference, kind of like the thing Langston. One of the things I wanted to say last night and really didn't get a chance to say was about the big, which is a bigger deal here, and everything's relative. A game's the bigness of a game is relative to the person consuming the game, and they're typically going to pick their bigger game. If it's their own team, be it because their son's playing or a nephew's playing, that's the biggest game. It doesn't matter who is playing. So for somebody like me, as I looked at games this week, and I said, well, I'm going to go to Providence Day Catholic or Kings Mountain Burns, because those are the two biggest games. Relative to me, those are the two biggest games. And as I peek over into Cleveland County, you got to say that the Burns Kings Mountain is the biggest. I've got to say that that's the biggest game. But guaranteed that the people sitting there from Shelby and Crest are going to tell you, no, this is the biggest game. And they're right. It is. For them, it's the biggest game. Everything's relative. Rankings, be it the ranker or the consumer of the rankings. We tend to forget that stuff sometimes as we do things. And just the whole subjectiveness. You're taking Kings Mountain over Burn. I know you are. You said in a fluke play, and I'm taking them too in a 7-point win. Allen, I think that was, I don't know if that was Allen or Jeff, because Jeff was posting on YouTube, but I don't know. But he was picking by 7. Burns, 28-21. I'm 38-28, 35-28. It's hard to beat Kings Mountain at Kings Mountain. Definitely Burns can win. Burns wins. I'm not going to be, if Burns again wins by 7 or less, I'm not going to feel like I messed up. But this time I went with my gut. Last week I picked against Burns and I was going with logic. And the week before I picked against Kings Mountain, I was going with logic and not my gut. Well, this week I'm going with my gut. And my gut's going to be wrong. It was you, JM. It was me. Okay, so look at you. You're posting from 2 or 3 different accounts, Jeff. All right, we got to get this fixed so that you're in here. And the nice thing, Jim, is now with Restream, I can set you up. I can set a team up, and people can now command, I think, through the team and be able to push out through all the different channels that are set up. So you don't have to worry about when you do your live cast of just having one person. And Jim, I wanted, we have so many things to talk about that we want to talk about. Remember, we wanted to put some things together, talk about, and then target it towards the NCHSAA. And I still want to do that because there are things that need to be addressed in this state. So that 3-hour conversation we had, we need to break that back out into another thing here. I think that the game Friday night at Kings Mountain is going to be won in the 4th quarter. I think that the Providence Day game is going to be won. Oh, goodness. I have a hard time with this game Friday night. I'm going to, because I think it's going to be again a one-score game. But if some things click for Providence Day, Providence Day could roll. I don't. What I watched Friday night, I sat there and I kept thinking, watching this offense is like watching 2004 Independence. So you got a quarterback that can throw the ball. He can throw the ball as well as Joe Cox could. And Joe, in my opinion, threw the best ball. Tightest spiral, blah, 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 blah. We can argue all we want about who was the best high school quarterback. Pick Mike Epley. But Joe Cox threw one of the best balls I've seen. And if people remember, when he went out to the Elite 11, he performed better at his senior year Elite 11 than Chris Leak did at his senior year Elite 11. The Elite 11 people said if the two had been put together at the same Elite 11, Joe Cox would have finished above Chris Leak at that Elite 11, because Joe could throw the ball. Joe's a great leader too. So what I saw out of Davis is a kid that can throw the ball very well. He throws on target. He gets the ball out quickly. He needs some mental improvement of, I think, command and leadership on the field, and I think that'll come. He's got a great coach. But the kid athletically is, wow, he's a hard one to stop. And if he can get going in the receiving core they've got, man. So I kept hearing, I didn't know this, but I kept hearing ship. And I'm watching number 3 and that ship. But I didn't know exactly which ship, but it kept in my mind. I'm like, the last time I kept hearing ship mentioned so many times like this, I'm thinking way back there when West Charlotte days. And I don't know. I married everything together, but I didn't marry the fact that this was actually Steve Ship's son until I'm leaving the ball game. And I noticed on the other side of the fence, I said, that's Steve Ship. That's got to be Steve Ship. And then Langston mentioned, yep, that's who it was, and that's Steve Ship's son. So a great quarterback can become quite mediocre if their time play. Yeah. Of kids that I've watched in high school and their interaction with their teammates and their team, the team. And when I say their teammates and interaction, meaning the game flow, and they handle their teammates on the sideline and off, et cetera. Again, another Joe Cox moment of just being it. He is a leader and a respecter of his players, of his team, his O-line, his receivers. At Providence Day can get there. His physical tools are better, I think. I just think overall he's got the potential, a way better quarterback than Joe Cox. And Joe Cox is, I mention Joe a lot because Joe is one of my favorites. Mike Epley, Leak, actually Mark May over Drake. I'm old school, but both father and son, great quarterbacks. This kid's got a potential to be, and there's some debate. I had some debate with some people last night about that, a little heated debate. But that part of it, Jim, is the hardest part, I think, for players to get, because especially when you're kind of at that 15 years of age, 15, 16 years of age, and you probably got more in your mind. And I'm going to relate back to quarterback at Olympic, Antonio Miller. He got himself to the Shrine Bowl. He's a very good high school quarterback. But his methods on the field were always about, I'm a leader by example of play and not a leader of men. Two different things. And to be a good quarterback, you have to be a leader of men. You can be a great player and be a leader, by example of play, but not as a quarterback. I think for you to be the better quarterback, you've got to encompass that I can command the team. Yeah, Gary, I'm Providence Day over Catholic as well, and I have tossed every time I think about this game. I toss between 7 and 21 points. It's just to see that if Providence Day does not have injuries, and I'm not saying anything. What can I say? I had a great conversation with Chad Greer Friday night about it. And Chad's not about this game Friday night. Chad thinks the game's going to, he doesn't think they're going to run away with the game. I'm not saying he doesn't want to, or doesn't think that the possibility couldn't exist. But we were just talking about the body of his team as a whole. And if he does not, or that team does not suffer injuries, this is going to be a phenomenal game. The PDCC game is at CC. So another reason I want to go, because I love going to a game there. It's a great place for football. It's, in all honesty, it's maybe the best. It's a hard call, because depending on the situation, going to Richmond County is just phenomenal. To see a game in Richmond County, you can't get that A.L. Brown Concord experience anymore. I'm afraid that's gone forever now. One of the best environments I've been to lately was actually over at Kings Mountain Crest. There was the Kings Mountain at Crest, when Kings Mountain beat Crest for the first time in this. We're talking about maybe 5 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when Kings Mountain beat Crest for the first time in, I forget how long, how many decades it had been, if I'm remembering the numbers right. But that was a phenomenal environment. Wallace Rose Hill. Okay, I haven't been there. In North Carolina, now I'm going to tell you, I went down to Berkeley to watch Goose Creek and Berkeley play. The place that this picture up here that I took and Goose Creek. They got put on. The paper asked if they could have that picture, and they ran it on the front page at the Fumble. My son got it blown up and framed to give to me. That was a phenomenal, oh my gosh, environment. That was a phenomenal environment. To Mooresville can be a great environment. You not take it in West Rowan. Oh my gosh. In a West Rowan Mooresville game, which they're playing this Friday night. West Rowan or Mooresville at West Rowan, Kannapolis at West Rowan. I think maybe one of my gosh, man, I've been in a number of situations of awesome environments. That game was a playoff game. Oh gosh, Scott Young was still at West Rowan. Fans were 5 people deep around the fence. That was one of those places once you get up in there, and the crowd, the fact that the game was phenomenal, a playoff game and a close game, but the crowd, that environment was just outstanding. In the 70s, Jim, you were just a baby. Here in the 70s and in the 60s, Memorial Stadium was the place to be. So for me, my senior year at West, we opened up the season playing Harding at Memorial, and the big rivalries then, Harding West, a big rivalry, Harding West Charlotte, big rivalry, and West Meck and West Charlotte, big rivalry, all of those big rivals. What a phenomenal environment Memorial Stadium was. And I've only been in your area, at least your home area. I've been to Albemarle, but that's it. Now, your current area, which I guess is what you're talking about now, because I see you say East Chapel Hill. I just got to wonder what it will be like at Mooresville Friday night with West Rowan coming over. That's probably going to be a good environment. I was mentioning to some people about maybe I don't remember if it was after we had our talk last night or before. But the people will be coming over from West Rowan, driving their Jeeps and hunting gear, and and maybe dragging some deer behind them. And that's not a slam on the West Rowan people. I'm sure that they would probably love it because they come in their camouflage. What an environment that's going to be. Yeah, it's a long old time rivalry. I've been to a couple of the games. I've been to 2 that I can remember. I've been to one at Mooresville and one at West Rowan. And I probably enjoyed it more at West Rowan, I think. I don't know why, but I just like the West Rowan environment a little better. Mooresville Stadium is nicer, I guess, but the environment just seemed to be better as a non, aligned individual. And that again was back in the oh gosh, what was running back's name? I formation. Oh, Gary, I'm no doubt that you guys will have it'll be a big crowd there. It's probably going to be a good ball game. Yep, that's him, Kevin Parks. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. One of the best running backs I've had the opportunity to watch play. And that's a hard one to say because I've seen so many good running backs. North Carolina, the state of North Carolina has produced a lot of good, just a bunch of them. And Kevin Parks was one of them, especially as a high school player, as a high school running back. And to have a natural tailback play in an I formation, I mean, that's golden right there. That is golden. You can't. So many times coaches would not adapt their offense to that. I'm not saying that the offense was adapted because that was Scott's offense, but so many times you could have that kind of player on the team and they're going to run something else. They're going to run something that's not as suited. Now, Kevin Parks could fit in a number of running formations, a number of running offenses, but for Kevin Parks to show up at my son played for Maurice Flowers, so if Kevin Parks had showed up at Olympic, it would have been a waste of his talent to have played. He was a beast in both high school and college, but he was a beast in high school. So was Ted Brown. Ted Brown is my all-time favorite. Now, I did not know anything about Ted Brown as a high schooler other than reading recruiting reports. Those every summer you buy the football books. I can't even remember their names now, but the only time I'd heard of Ted Brown was, we didn't really, down here in Charlotte, we didn't really hear much about other parts of the state when I was in Ted Brown's era. But as soon as Ted Brown showed up at NC State, I knew who he was. But you think you got Ted Brown, Anthony Barber, and Parks was phenomenal. Again, I just I loved watching him play. I loved watching him run because I love watching a true I formation. I like to watch run offenses that can execute. That's why I like the wing T. I like the veer. I like I and power I. I guess I like wishbone too, but I don't like option is cool, but I'm more downhill. And if you're going to get fancy, wing T with all the misdirection, but I kind of like just pointing the guy in a direction and then, not the single wing type of, or double wing type of, I should say, double wing type of point and running. That's where you put the whole student body one way. But I like having a fullback that can lead a back through a hole. I like that kind of offense. As far as Anthony asked Tommy Knotts, who probably he has nightmares about still, that's probably the one player you got to think he's just he can't ever get out of his mind because they should have won that state championship. Well, they should not have. Best teams always win. I don't care what. The best team always wins. The team that was thought to be the better team didn't win that ball game. And Anthony Barber had a lot to do with that. If I were a 1A or a 2A, play the power I. Well, I think, honestly, the wing tee is the wing tee is not as simple as a lot of people think, because there's so much complexity in the offensive line and so much skill that has to be developed there. And they have to be smart. So linemen actually have to be smart to play a wing tee offense. Linemen have to be smart to play in any of the run offenses, but your blocking schemes are a little more direct in an I, out of an I formation. I was just going to, you say run the power I, and I was thinking, so I think in high school, you can be extremely effective and most effective with wing tee, but it can be complicated to teach. And you need to add that element, like you got to give Barry Schufer credit where credit's due. That he installed that offense at Butler, and it ultimately won state championships under Newsom. You need to add that pass element to it, like they did. We ran in high school 2 offenses. We ran a split tee and a I formation, a red and gray. And we threw out of it. So we ran that offense actually came from Maryland in the early offense that Maryland ran in the early 70s. I think they were running that offense in 74, 75 maybe, 74, 75, and Coach Lemon, who was our offensive coordinator at West Mecklenburg, he adopted that offense. He adopted it in my senior years when we installed it. A 2 tight end set. I like watching tight ends, first of all. Another reason I like Catholic. I love watching tight ends work. Weddington's got a phenomenal tight end. But I love watching, and Charlotte Catholic utilizes tight ends absolutely the best. But now a 2 tight end set, I don't know how many people exploit that. Yeah, Gary, I went to a number of games, and I don't want a number to sound like I went to, tons of them, but I went to probably 3 games. I don't know if the wind blew my door or if something's at my door. I went to probably 3 playoff games at Mooresville during that time frame. The atmosphere is like you say, it's amazing. It was it's hard to match that atmosphere. I think Richmond County is an amazing, if you've never been to Richmond County, you got to go to Richmond County. Um, that is an amazing environment. Now that they got those LED lights, they really have amped it up tremendously. I'm just trying to think of what matches those feelings that I got at Western. I got to say, my biggest, I think the biggest for me though was that Berkeley Goose Creek being a great game, and just the atmosphere and top-notch South Carolina football. That was a great environment. North Carolina, I've been in a number of places, but unfortunately only a few times in Charlotte. That's one of the things we lack here in Charlotte. We got great football. I mean, we just got phenomenal football. If you just want to talk about what's happening on the field, it's hard to beat. It compares with just about anywhere. But when you step off to the sidelines and up to the stands and all that other stuff, it's hard to get that same click of an atmosphere. Sometimes you get it at Providence. When Independence, it's a shame when Independence was going through that big run. That could be a great place to go to watch a football game, but it's such a small stadium. Very, very small stadium. They never got the justification there of the marriage of team to stadium. Pinecrest, good football. And as a team, I can't speak for atmosphere. That's a place I haven't been to a game. Tuscola, man. That's there's still a. So I've been to Crest Shell. I've been to that. I think I've been to. So I've been to Crest Shelby, Kings Mountain Shelby, Kings Mountain Crest. I've been to Burns, Crest, and I think that's it. I've seen Burns about 4 times, but I've not seen them against all the Cleveland County schools. The most interesting one was Mooresville at Burns that I went to. That was a real interesting game. It got delayed because of lightning. Scott Young, man. I didn't really know Scott until after Independence fired him. I knew Scott as a casual, I'd speak to him for a minute or two at a game when I was at one of the games, but we really didn't get to know each other. He knew who I was, I knew who he was, and we could talk. And then after he got fired and I put out that video, Scott called me. And actually, Diane called me first. And that's right. I got his wife's name right? Yeah, Diane. And she asked if I would talk to Scott. And I found that odd. And I told her, I didn't know her at all. I never had spoken with her. I'd seen her at some games, but had never, if I said hey to her, I don't even remember it. I probably did, but I don't remember it. So she called me and asked if I would talk to Scott. And that was after that video. And I'm like, yeah. I said, Scott called me. She said, well, I don't know, but he wants to talk to you. I was like, well, yeah. And so Scott and I talked a number of times for hours. Oh my gosh. We learned a lot about each other in a short period of time. Then, of course, he passed not too long after that. Cleveland County would be a great place to be during a Friday night light. So I got to put that up there in case anybody sees that. To live, there is how do I say this? Jim, well, you and I have had this conversation before. I think Cleveland County has the best football in the state as a county. Talking the whole experience. I'm not talking about teams. However, you got a lot of state champions over there in Cleveland County. There's a lot of state championships that's come out of that county. But the environment, I don't think there's a county that can totally live up to that environment. Because on a Friday night, this Friday night, you got Kings Mountain and Burns at Kings Mountain, and Shelby and Crest playing. There's right there. Think about those two environments. Hard to match one of them, but now you got two of them, and yeah, I think it'd be a great place if you could hop around between them. You would, if you can live off that kind of energy, that would probably fuel you eternity. No question. Well, I could sit here and do this all night. I know I've done it for a long time. Hey, there's good. You hate to take things away, but it's like consistently in and out. I enjoyed South Iredell. I've only been to South Iredell maybe no more than 3 times, 2 to 3 times, and it's a good environment. I think all those environments can be good when you're winning. So I like your rankings. For me, I can't. I haven't been out. I haven't been that far out east. So, if I can pronounce it, is it Duplin? How bad did I butcher it? I didn't say Duplin. Dupin. Yep. Because I drink that wine. There's some good wine, good muscadine wine that comes from out there. If you partake. But Cleveland's got to be number one. As many high schools as we have in Charlotte or Mecklenburg County, and we can't. Now, I'll tell you what, Providence Day, baby. So Friday night, Weddington brought a crowd. I've never seen Providence Day State again. I don't want to sound like I've been to Providence Day hundreds of times, but I've been to Providence Day a handful, a little over a handful of times. Well, over the years, even more than that. Probably 3 times when Harden was there, and a couple of times when Adam was there, and then now that Chad's been there, maybe 4 or 5 times. This is the biggest crowd I've seen by far, and their atmosphere was really good. But some of these atmospheres is like a carnival. It makes you feel like a kid at the carnival, and I didn't get that kind of feeling Friday. But I have gotten that same kind of energy feeling at Kings Mountain. I've gotten it at West Rowan. Porter Ridge. Yeah, Porter Ridge. That's another good place. That's right. I don't know why I forget about that. Porter Ridge, phenomenal environment. I haven't been to Porter Ridge in 5, 6 years. It's been a long time since I've been to Porter Ridge. But they got they call it the Boneyard. So they do their tailgating before the game. They got this area that there's a lot of people with big grills, and back in the day on the forums, people knew about how much I liked my barbecue and my other stuff. So the Porter Ridge people started inviting me to come to the Boneyard. I went to a number of games just because of that. I think one of the wildest games I saw was Davie County. When Davie County came in there to play them. One of the roughest games I guess I've seen. Best games, well, there were some good Sun Valley games there. So Union County, I don't know. South Stanley. Yeah, South Stanley had I don't know about the atmosphere. I remember the time frame. I remember that's when they had a good football team. But I never went to a game during that time frame there. So I wouldn't know. I would have no idea what that atmosphere was like. Just as I'm sure the atmosphere, and I did not go to an A.L. Brown game in the early 80s. Later, when Harden was there, 86, 87, maybe. Piedmont. We played Piedmont when my sons played, and we played Piedmont opening when Piedmont was good. Jester days. Small stadium, but phenomenal environment. Yeah, it's Parkwood. The last time I went to a Parkwood game was the Saturday. Parkwood and Sun. Is that who it was? Sun Valley? Anyway, they had to play on Saturday, the day of state championship pairings day. So they had to get that game in before, and it was a critical game for the seedings of the playoffs. So they played that game Saturday morning. That's the last time I've been to Parkwood. Yeah, I'm speaking of after his Indy. So he left Indy and went to Piedmont. We're talking 2003, 2000 and was it 2002, 2003, or 2003 and 2004? It's probably 2003 and 2004 is when we played there. It was an endowment. We played it for the money. So Olympic went over to play them, and we got. They gave us money to come play. Um, gave us a part of the gate. It's the only reason we went and did it. Remember how that worked? Was it that the gate got split 50-50? I think it is the gate gets split 50-50, and instead of playing a home and away, we played two aways. Oh, that's what it was. So we played when it was our turn to play home, we played it there and split the gate with them. That's what it was. Because splitting the gate with them was more than we would make here at home. It was more than worthwhile for us to do that. He had Cam Spear. They had that fullback / middle linebacker, Cam Spear, who I think was one of the best linebackers I've seen play. I really thought that kid was better than App State. And the funny thing is that I talked to Coach Flowers about that. And I asked Coach Flowers what he thought. And he agreed with me. I said, well, shouldn't you got, at the time, we had a kid on the team, Howard, who played at NC State, wide receiver. And State was at the school a lot. And I suggested that he talk to the state recruiters about him. I said, this kid. And he did talk to the state recruiters, and they told him, said he's too slow for our defense. And he ran a 4.7, I think it was a 4.7 40. And the funny thing about that was Antonio Barnett, who played, if you may remember him, one of the best tacklers ACC's ever had. I don't say that because I'm a State fan. He had the 4 tackles in the Notre Dame game down in the Gator Bowl, 4 in a row that won the ball game. He made all 4 tackles, and he ran a 4.9 40. So I thought the justification of this was in that era of the Amato time frame when they were recruiting Florida heavy, and they were trying to put speed on the team. And so they were recruiting all these players out of Florida. They were getting State probably had the fastest team in the ACC that wasn't in Florida, but they were so poorly disciplined. They got so many penalties that, well, we see the results. We saw the results of how well that recruiting, or that method of recruiting. But it was those recruiters that said that Cam Spear was too slow at 4.7 when the best tackler out of NC State, Antonio Barnett, was a 4.9 40 guy. So, idiocy. Yeah, that was a good ball player. He had in our games, he had over 200 yards rushing, and they ran all over us. Gosh, Piedmont just gouged us. We still almost won. I mean, we played. I had to go back and look at the scores, but we played them close. But they gouged us on the ground. Oh my gosh, they just ran. They ran on us like our defense was Swiss cheese. There were so many holes. It was a true statement. Spear had over 200 yards, and they had two other backs that had over 100 yards. The only time we got ran on worse was by AC Reynolds. Another good environment. If you haven't been up there to see the Rockets, that's another good environment. Thoroughly enjoyed every time I've been to Asheville. They pounded us, man. Gosh, that last playoff game we played them, they had over 500 yards rushing. I think that if I might be making up the number, but I swear the number was like 545 yards rushing. Okay, I've been doing this for 2 hours. Jim, I should have brought you on and let you talk instead of type. There's 3 people here. How long have they had field turf? I think they had field turf. All right, we played them in the playoffs in 2002 and in 2003. Is that right? 2002, 2003. Yeah. I can't say that I remember they had field turf then, but I know they had field turf before you know what? I think they had it then. I think they had it in 2003. I know they had it before 2010, but I think they had it in 2003. Yes, he was the coach. Yep. It was funny because the difference with AC Reynolds than what you see with a lot of mountain teams is that they had speed. And the first time we went up there to play them, the Asheville paper did a giant write-up on Antonio Miller. Because Antonio was the best quarterback out of Charlotte, not named Chris Leak, is the best way to put that. And there was thoughts that we would go up there and have our way with them. Now, the 2002 game, it rained hard. I've ever seen it rain, and more than I've ever seen it rain. It was a nasty environment. But then the next year we went up there. Again, Antonio Miller, the quarterback. We had good weather. That's the night they had 545 yards rushing. I think they beat us in the 40s to, how bad? I don't know what we scored. I don't think we scored double digits, but we may have. But we got pounded. And he was the coach. I've only seen Southview in person in state championships. Is that right? But Bobby Foss was a good coach. He was a good coach. And Reynolds, you could tell they were disciplined, and we were very undisciplined. We were horribly disciplined. That's the best way I can put it. In comparison, very disciplined team. Very the execution of their techniques are why they got 545 yards. The holes that they created were Mack truck driving through wide sometimes, it seemed like. Just a very, very well coached team. So environments, that's a great environment. I don't know if you've been there, Jim, but it's you come to the stadium, you come up, say on the home side, and the stadium's down in a hole. So it's that right there just kind of sets it. When you walk it up, you can't see the stadium when you walk up, and then you get there at the top of the stands, and the stadium's down below you. It's a similar thing, not as big, but like walking up to Death Valley, down at Clemson. Which is, for college, that's got to be the best experience I've ever had, is going to Clemson. I've been to games at Duke, Chapel Hill, NC State, Wake Forest, South Carolina. I'm just picking schools. Without question, Clemson out of the Carolinas has, and Clemson beats Tennessee, I think. That's a phenomenal place to get down into. That'd be a great place to play a high school game if you could fill it up. Get all the fans to come to it. Wow. See, I've been to Inca. I used to have a customer in Inca. What about Owen as well? Owen, I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention to Owen in the last few years, but Inca's, I've been there one time. Gary, that's a good point. I noticed that somewhere I saw, either on Twitter or somewhere, someone mentioned that Concord has turf. It's been a while since I've been to a Concord game, and it seems like every Concord game I went to, it rained. And what a horrible place when it rains. I've been to Concord 4 or 5 times, and I think every time there had either just been rain or it rained. So they need that place. Horrible drainage was horrible. Stand in water, and on the home side, the field, to your right down in that corner was just swimming pool. Yeah, Owen was I'm thinking Owen, if I remember right, Owen was decent back in the 2000s, in the early 2000s, middle 2000s, maybe. The horses, right? That's their mascot, I think. The horses, or stallions, or some kind of horse, something to do with a horse. War horses, that's it. The war horses, that's it. Man, if I can turn my brain a little bit, I this stuff gets lost in there, but sometimes I can pull that stuff out. That's been my problem with on talking preps, is I can't get stuff out quick enough. I have to think about things now. I have to give stuff a little more thought, so I can't click around. But I remember Owen being pretty good back then. That'd be interesting. I mean, I'm glad Concord's got turf. I'm afraid Concord and A.L. Brown have just seen Black Mountain and Swannanoa. Yeah. I think now that the mills have dried up, that's hurt A.L. Brown. I don't know why. I don't know what Concord's problems are. I think the atmosphere of population maybe is shifting to give places like Cox Mill and Hickory Ridge more. I don't know if it's that's giving them more opportunity at players. Part of the problem becomes once you start not doing as well and you start going through coaches, that impacts. A.L. Brown hangs on because they've got a phenomenal coach. People don't think so, but they're not going to get any better. They get rid of Newsom, A.L. Brown will collapse to nothing. They'll be hard to maintain. And once your program starts dropping off, it's hard to bring it back. I think Mallard Creek might be seeing that. It's kind of funny because after week one, a number of people, I should say some, were thinking, well, Mallard Creek might be back. And all I could think was, Myers Park's got a long ways to go. They don't look like the Myers Park of last year. Yeah, see, so if you look at a game of being A.L. Brown in Concord, and just forget about where the two programs are at as far as win-losses. But when that game, let's say the 80s, was still a good, that's a peak, maybe a peak time period, 80s and 90s maybe. Probably somewhere right in there is I think a peak time period of atmosphere and et cetera. Boy, that game was something else. I got to tell you guys this. When my summer going into my senior year, 1977, my best friend at the time, who was on the football team with me, he and I wanted to go to football camps. So we decided to go to Elon College, to go up there. Red Wilson, I think, was the coach at Elon at the time. I hope I got his name right. And I rode up with Greg, and it turned out that like the day before we were to go up to Elon, the Charlotte Observer had a big article about A.L. Brown. And oh God, who was the coach then in '77? Jim's going to know. Maybe you know, Gary. He built the weight room. He built the new weight room there. And that weight room, the article talked about the weight room and said that it was better than the weight rooms at the major universities. And so like up at maybe not all the universities. I don't remember if it said all Big Four or, but it definitely mentioned at least being better than like maybe what Duke had and what maybe even Carolina. I don't know. Could have been all of them. It could have said all of the Big Four. But anyway, phenomenal weight room. So what we did, Boswell, that's it. See, I couldn't know. That's it. You don't think you know. Trust me, because that's who it was. He built that weight room, and so I told Greg. I said, on our way up to Elon, let's see if we can go over to Kannapolis and see the weight room. Now I don't know why I had. Today it makes sense to me to have that interest, but I don't know why that kind of interest kicked into me back then. But he kind of put that, I think that time frame, that really started reshaping the A.L. Brown. And that was kind of like the spur to get A.L. Brown, I think, into shape and then getting Harden there. The atmosphere was, with that Concord, it was phenomenal. Oh my goodness. Now, but it used to be that way with A.L. Brown games, period. But now, last day, it's been not a handful of years. It's been about 3 years since I've been to A.L. Brown. And no, the people aren't coming out to the game used to. But it's good to see turf going into the schools. And I'm glad to see Concord get turf. But I'm afraid from a football point of view, I don't see them coming back and being a force again. Am I wrong? Maybe. This doesn't seem like Concord's the Concord that we saw there in the middle 2000s, state championships. Nope. Well, I'm going to run. Y'all hung with me a long time. Jim, I want to do this if you're still around. I want to do this again next week. Gary, if you want to ever come on, you're more than welcome. I'll bring you on, and I don't know what's the right phrase I'm looking for, but Mississippi Minute or whatever it is. Coach Padgett was a good coach. He kept them relevant. He was a really good coach. The coach over here at Mecklenburg County. I just don't know that they can ever come back again. I hate to think that, but I think because of the shift in the environments, the mill's going closing down, hurting A.L. Brown, I think. And nothing's been able to come back in to supplement that. Coach Newsom told me that he really felt like Cox Mill was the next. So he thought Cox Mill had the potential to be the next Indy Butler. He said he talked to me about how they had the same kind of environment that he had over at Butler. Yeah, I wouldn't mind having him on. He used to contribute on Carolina Varsity a lot. He was a big contributor at one time. He helped. He provided a lot of information, and I had a wiki that I did at one time, and had a Concord wiki that he kept up with. I haven't communicated with him in a long time. It's been a long time, but I wouldn't mind having him on. The thing that I like is I like old stuff. And he knows more about Concord than I could ever. He knows more about Concord than I know about a lot of things that I should know a lot of stuff about. How do I put that? It's not just that he knows more about Concord than I know. That's a given. He knows a lot about Concord. So that can be good information. And of course, that means he knows other things about SPC teams and, the older SPC teams and A.L. Brown and all the things that go around all of that and the Rowan County stuff. So, yeah, it would be good to have him on. And Gary, you are welcome. I've mentioned this to you before. You're welcome to come on for a little bit. You don't have to talk as long as I do or we have done. This was outrageous to be live this long. I think it's just you and Jim, and I don't know who that third person is. They're being quiet, whoever it is. But I'm going to cut. Gary, I do want to go fishing with you. We've talked about that before. I want to do tenkara fishing. That's I watch a lot of tenkara videos, a lot of them, and I want to do that. It's right up. I like to spin fish, but tenkara looks like it would be fun because it looks like fly fishing I could handle. I like small streams. That's what tenkara is really good for, small streams. Our small streams are not like small streams out west, though. Our small streams have lots of overhang, typically. But I haven't been trout fishing in so long. And now that I've lost weight, I can move around better. My back's bothering me, but still, I would like to do some tin. I'd like for you to think of a good place I could go tenkara fishing. I don't know how. The other thing is, what do I want to catch? I really used to love getting into what were called native streams. I guess they're not game, just game, where brook trout are and unstocked fish. I don't eat trout as much. For me, it's more about the catch and release than it is the eat, the catch and keep and eat. Although I'll eat some. That's not saying I don't eat any, but I'm more about catch and release than I am worried about catching and eating. And if you can think, I know you've got some. I always look. I see your pictures. You're catching them and having fun. So I don't know. As the weather cools down, if it's you want to try to get together and do something sometime, let's do it. Now, Northwest Cabarrus, just real quickly, Cameron Williams, and Cameron was joining us tonight. Cameron is a new kid on Talking Preps. He's doing some writing for the Charlotte Observer. He just graduated from UNCC. He's doing a blog or something about UNCC football as well, some kind of like insider thing. He was going to join tonight, but I guess he got tied up. He's from Northwest. He went to school at Northwest Cabarrus. So he doesn't think they're going to be, as far as the program this year, but he seems to think they might have something here in the next year or so. Now, he didn't mention anything about a new school. That would hurt them. Of course, that population is growing up there. But you're right. Yes, just I'm going to look into a Tenkara rod. I don't have one. I'm going to look into getting a Tenkara rod, and maybe I would like to, when I go back out, I'd like to go out with you, I think. So it might be good to know approximately the size fish you think we might catch, so that I know that I get the right rod, at least to start out with. There's basically, I don't know how much you know about Tenkara, but like any rod, any of the rods, there's multiple classifications, or heavy, medium, light, and ultralight. And I think with the Tenkara, there's like 3: light action, medium, and heavy. Yeah, Jim, I'm going to go too. I'm going to do this next Wednesday, I think. So I'll make sure to set something up, and it won't go this long either. Y'all take care, and we'll see you.